USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Shh. Hear that? Big waves are calling. Dive into refreshment with Kona Big Wave. Tropical flavor and the taste of aloha in every drop. So crack one open and let the great taste roll in. Kona Big Wave, Liquid Aloha. Copyright 2025 Kona Brewing Co., St. Louis, Missouri. Mahalo for enjoying responsibly.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
My name is Happy Gilmore. I haven't swung a club in years.
You know what you gotta do.
Grip it and rip it.
Or... Oh, now that is some Happy Gilmore.
Everyone is talking about the comeback kid, Happy Gilmore.
Happy Knee.
Yeah, baby.
Happy Gilmore 2, only on Netflix July 25th. Rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to episode 114 of DBR Bites, the Duke Basketball Roundup, our shortened, our shortened versions. Actually, this will be shortened because I'm on a clock. So, like, if this goes more than 30 minutes, I'm in trouble. It's Sunday evening. We got dinner plans, but we wanted to get out here. I know it's been a little while. I know it's taken a little bit of time, but there just frankly hasn't been a ton to say over the past week. I'm Jason Evans. Donald Wine is with me. Donald, have we missed anything big, Donald? I don't think we have, unfortunately.
Not really. I mean, I rushed back from a soccer game to be here. So we're good to go. Let's get you to your dinner.
Yeah. All right. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit of basketball and a little bit of football. We'll do the football after the break. We're going to start with the basketball. And we want to start with this, a little bit of a preview, so to speak. On Tuesday, Jon Scheyer has invited all of you to come watch a Duke practice. They will be allowing, I believe I saw 5,000 people, the first 5,000 folks to show up. It is just going to be an open practice Tuesday at 5:30. We've mentioned this in the past. One of the major reasons that Donald and I are on here right now talking about this is because we need, neither one of us will be there. We need you all to be our eyes and ears. If you're planning on going to the open practice, you need to reach out to us afterwards immediately. Let us know everything you observed. And Donald, if I may, the first thing I want to tell people is there are a couple things I want them to be on the lookout for. I want to know who look like the starters, who starts in white on most of the drills for Jon Scheyer. And then I want to know who transitions quickly from blue to white, because last year, as everyone will recall, Donald, you know all about this. I saw an early practice, and I saw Sion James jumping in with the first team very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. Now, at the time, he was jumping in for Con Knipple, which proved to not be his role on the team, but he also would get in there and play some point guard for Caleb Foster. And it told me, right away that Sion was way up there, and it sort of presaged his move into the starting lineup. The other thing I also controversially noted was that Mason Gillis, who was the defending Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year, didn't have a role like a sixth man for Duke. And that it felt to me, as I said to all of you a year ago, it felt to me like Mason Gillis was like the eighth man or so, in the rotation. And that I thought he might get limited minutes in close games. And I mean, I'm not going to get into whether I was right or wrong, but I was more right than wrong, I'd say, considering that this guy had been Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year. So, folks, that's what I need you to be on the lookout for. Who's getting the playing time? Who are the starters? And who are the first guys to go in and play with those starters?
Jason, your aside about Mason Gillis and whether you were right or wrong reminds me of an old adage that I love. It's from a movie. And the adage is, if when I'm right, and when I'm wrong, I could have been right. So I'm actually right because I could have been wrong. That's what you just said, essentially, about Mason Gillis last year. So, we want to do that again this year. And honestly, Jason, I think also there's going to be a lot, right? And it's hard with these open practices to kind of determine what it's really going to feel like because they know that you guys are watching. This is not like a close practice where they're going to be grinding and, cursing is going to be involved because, hey, cursing is involved in practices sometimes. But I do think that you're going to see a lot of the rotations, who works well with whom. And we want to see that. We want to see who's shooting the lights out. And I get it. It's practice. It's hard to gauge how that will translate to the hardwood when we are playing it against an opponent. But these are the little things, right? The playing time in November, December, in March, and April is won on the court in practice in August and September and October and throughout the year. So I want to see, I want to learn who those guys are. Who are the guys that win every drill, right? We talked about that a lot last year and the competitiveness of winning every drill. And so those are the little things that I think everybody can kind of let us know what they think. And I think, Jason, honestly, we're probably going to get quite a few submissions from people. It'll be up to us to kind of decipher through all this, right? Because everybody plays telephone. Yeah. Everybody has a different cell phone, right? You may have an iPhone, but it's not my iPhone. So it would be interesting to see all these different perspectives and kind of put it together and maybe create an overall umbrella of what we're looking at as this team enters August.
Yeah, and two other really quick things I wanted to mention. One is I really want folks to look at the point guards specifically, which I believe will probably be Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer. And I want to see if people notice a difference in the point guards. I feel like Caden Boozer is more of a create for other guys, put pressure on the defense and then pass to a teammate kind of point guard. And that Caleb Foster is maybe a little more of a, create opportunities for himself. Now, I'm not making a value judgment on either one of those, but I am interested in seeing, how those two guys maybe play slightly differently and how the team around them plays slightly differently, because there are a lot of different ways a point guard can play. Donald, I happened to be looking this up earlier today. The last time Duke had a point guard average 5 assists per game? It was when Trey Jones was in a Duke uniform in 2000 before the season got shut down. He averaged actually averaged 2020, a little over 6 assists per game for Trey Jones. But over the past 5 years, Duke's Duke's assist leader, by the way, it mostly has not been a point guard. It's been Wendell Moore. It's been Cooper Flagg. It hasn't even necessarily been a point guard. But we've had several years where the guy who got the most assists was getting 3.5 to 4, maybe slightly over 4 assists per game. I bring all this up because I feel like Caden Boozer may be the type that can get 5+ assists per game, depending on his playing time. So that's one of the big things I want folks to look for is the different styles of the potential point guards.
So you mentioned, last year, for example, I think there's also a case to be said about how this team operates. And, last year we had a point guard, right? But the point guard didn't always bring up the ball. A lot of times Cooper Flagg, as we know, initiated a lot of the offense or brought the ball up, kind of like LeBron James in the NBA, like that kind of point forward type of thing.
Well, and it's not even a matter of bringing it up. It's like, where does the offense start? The offense starts
right
with the ball in your hands, even if you're on the wing.
But what everyone did last year well was pass the ball. So, yeah, Cooper Flagg led the team in assists with 3 point something, right?
But it was like 4.4, I want to say, something like that. But go ahead.
My point is everybody could pass the ball. So we did need somebody to get 10 assists a game. We didn't need that one guy to start 90% of the offense. We had everyone had that role. And at times when Cooper Flagg couldn't get the ball, Sion James would start the offense, or, Con Knipple sometimes would bring the ball up. Caleb Foster, when he was in the game, would bring the ball up. So you had all these different guys. Tyrese Proctor would start, had tendencies to have the ball. So that is also a thing to look at when you're looking at the point guard position. Is it something where they are the sole initiator of the offense, or is there somebody else that steps up when, for example, if Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer are playing against each other, if they're denying each other the ball, who brings the ball up? Right, that sort of thing. And I think, again, it's because so many things can happen during the course of the season. As we know, there's foul trouble. There's knock on wood. Hopefully there's no injuries, but that is obviously something that can pop his head. And you need to have more than one person capable of being able to bring the ball up and set up the offense and run it efficiently.
By the way, speaking of injuries, I think one thing to be on the lookout for in the drills is that in the practice, you're not going to get a true picture of the Duke team because of the big men. I think there's almost no chance at all that Malik Brown is doing full 5-on-5 contact drills yet. My understanding is that he isn't quite there yet. He's very close, but not quite. And the same with Pat Gongba. Like we saw, there was a little piece of 5-on-5 video that the Duke social media team put out this past week, and it was noticeable that neither Malik Brown nor Pat Gongba were involved in the 5-on-5. And I think with both of them, it's probably a case where if Duke had an ACC game this week, I think those two guys would be able to go. But there's no reason to have them potentially aggravate or, have a problem with something in July or August, so they're not going yet. So I suspect that at the practice, you'll see them involved in drills. You'll see them involved in 5-on-0, so to speak. But if it comes down to, contact kind of play, my bet is you're not going to see either one of those guys going in this practice.
Jason, I think another thing, and again, this is a very small thing, and we talk a lot about the players, but also one thing that makes this team go and what it has done in the last couple of years is how these players interact with the coaching staff, how the coaching staff sets them up for these drills that they hope to see in the course of the game. And as we know, we have a couple of new faces in this program.
That's a great
Evan
point.
Brad. I like the fact that they introduced Evan Brad's kind of via video on Duke men's basketball on their Instagram the other day. It was like a 4-minute video of him coaching up some of the players and kind of getting us accustomed to how he kind of trains these guys. There's also Preston Green, who's the strength and conditioning coach. He replaced the legendary Coach Will. So we got a little bit of a glimpse of that as well. So again, you may not see a lot. You may not want to spend all practice looking at, Tyler Thornton or how John Shire operates. But it's important because I think, again, this team comes together based on how they put these guys into the positions for them to do the things that they do really well. Like, it doesn't help to put Cam Boozer out on the perimeter at 30 feet and say, don't come inside the paint, right? He has a particular set of skills, to borrow from Taken. Let's see how this coaching staff puts him in that position so that he can utilize those sets of skills and, again, be able to complement the rest of the team. So, again, little things that you can look at, and those are things that Jason and I look at every single game and how that, again, affects how this team performs.
All right, so I got a couple other small notes, and these are things that, again, I think folks should be on the lookout for this at the open practice, and I want to hear whether these things play out at the open practice. These are some stuff that I've heard, through the grapevine kind of thing. I'm not going to say the sources are great, but it's some interesting nuggets. The first one is this. Apparently, folks who were at Peach Jam, which was just a couple weeks ago, John Shire was there, and folks who spoke to him said that he has been telling everyone who will listen that Cam Boozer is even better than the Duke staff expected him to be. And apparently, John Shire is at least toying with the idea of running the offense through Cam Boozer somewhat similarly to the way he did with Cooper Flagg, which I think would be a fascinating development for this Duke team. But the bottom line is that Shire is super high on this team from folks who've spoken to him. And one of the major reasons for his excitement is that Cam Boozer can do a little bit of everything. Now, I'm also hearing that John Shire wants this team to play really fast. Last year, Donald, Duke had the 112th fastest offense in the country, 112, which is, sort of the middle of the road. Now, Duke hasn't had a top 100 offense in terms of tempo, in terms of speed, just the offense. Duke hasn't had one of those since 2020. when Trey Jones was leading the team. Hey, look at that. Trey making 2 appearances on the podcast this week. John Shire, from what I've heard, wants to change that this year. He knows he has a very deep team. He knows he has plenty of guys who can play, and he wants to play fast. And part of why he wants to play fast, what I've heard is that when Duke gets in transition, that's going to be the easiest way to get shots on the perimeter for Slim, Nick, Dame, and Darren Harris. That getting those 4 guys shots from 3 is really, really important this season. That those guys are just lights freaking out from 3-point range, and that Duke wants to play fast because they know that's a way to get open shots for those 4 guys. And all 4 of them, from what I understand, are unbelievable at taking shots on the move. They don't need to be set. One more thing, Donald, that I'm going to let you get in. The other nugget I've gotten, and again, I don't know how true this is, but I want to remind all of you, when Dame Sarr committed to Duke, I pointed out that he had been super hot from 3 in EuroLeague play, that they had just started playing him a little bit more, and as they started playing him more at Barcelona, he had gotten very hot. He was 11 of 20 during the month of March from 3-point range in EuroLeague and ACB. That's 55%. I can do that math really easy. That's from 3-point range. And there are a lot of folks, and I was one of them, who said, it may be that's just small sample size. Look, 1 or 2 more misses, he's only at 45%. Folks thought that perhaps that kind of shooting, that having a guy who could hit around 50% from 3, for Dame Sarr, people were like, that's not really what he is. Well, what I've heard is that in practice, Sarr has been above 50% on his 3-pointers. Duke tracks this stuff. I'm not talking about drills. I'm not talking about unguarded. I'm not talking about take your time. I'm talking about when you're playing against an active defender, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, or drills where there are active defenders in your face. What I've heard is that Dame Sarr is lighting it up above 50% from 3-point range. And it's worth noting, he is a multidimensional player. He's not just going to be an outside bomber. This is not going to be the same way Isaiah Evans was lighting it up a year ago in games where basically Isaiah was only taking 3-pointers. Dame Sarr is expected to do a lot more than what Dame did. Well, I'm sorry, that what Isaiah did a year ago. But again, what I'm hearing is that Isaiah Evans and Dame Sarr have the green light at all times, and that both those guys, but especially Dame Sarr, have just been hitting everything in practice so far. Tell me that doesn't get you excited, Donald.
I mean, look, when you look, again, going back to the Evan Brad's video that they had, he was basically coaching, hey, when the rebound happens, when a steal happens, and he was coaching basically Darren Harris, and he was coaching Dame Sarr, and he was coaching Slim, get to this point, and it's not off screen, but we know what kind of point it is, that wing of the 3-point line, because they're like, we want you ready because we want the ball to come quickly to you and you're shooting a 3, because basically he was like, you guys need to be great at shooting those 3s in transition, because that is going to be backbreakers every single time. Instead of going for a dunk or going for a layup, we're going for 3-pointers on fast breaks. So you're going to see a lot of that, especially in the early season as they try that out to see how that works. Because again, as you mentioned, we have 4 guys who can shoot the lights out. If one of them gets hot, everybody wins.
Amen, brother. All right, we're going to take a quick break, folks. On the other side, a little bit of football news. The ACC media has decided what order they think the entire conference will go this year. You'll be, I don't know if you'll be surprised, but you may be kind of pleased at how highly the media regards the Duke Blue Devils. We'll have that in just a moment.
Summer is here. More sun, way more heat, more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing you don't want to be doing all summer? Spending hours cooking. That's where Factor can help. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and delicious meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well.
Boy, that's right, Donald. Not only are they quick to heat up, you have a lot of options. You're not stuck with the same leftovers for the entire week. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. And if you're someone who does meal prep for the week, Factor's variety of options means you can have something different every single day, and you don't have to cook. Now you can get outside and enjoy some time with your loved ones.
So get started at factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off. Use that code DukeBB50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Again, that's factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Once again, factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab, LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Hey guys, it's CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm partnering with Abercrombie this season to tell you all about their viral denim. All you need to know is denim should fit like this. My jeans need to check a lot of boxes. Fit first, trend second. They need to go with whatever I'm feeling. And Abercrombie denim has it down. Whether I'm throwing on a tee or putting a whole fit together. Shop Abercrombie denim in the app, online, and in store.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtuo coffee machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your Virtuo pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
We are back from the break. Donald and Jason, DBR Bites. We're going to talk a little bit about football. Now, I know we haven't talked about football very much, Donald. The first game of the regular season is still about 3+ weeks away. So as we get closer, we're going to get into it more and more and more. But the thing we're going to talk about today is we got the preseason media poll. This is how all the folks who cover ACC football think the conference will turn out. And, I mean, I want to note that a lot of what happens in these preseason polls is, frankly, these guys, they just sort of pick what last season's order was. That happens a lot, and Duke did fairly well last year, so that may be one of the reasons why the Blue Devils come in 6th place in the ACC preseason media poll. The order of, I'll just give you like the top 8 or 9 or 10 or so. Clemson in first place, and Clemson had almost all the first place votes. Everyone says that Clemson is back on top in the ACC this year. Then Miami and SMU. Miami and SMU, by the way, very close to each other in the preseason media poll. A little step down then to Georgia Tech and Louisville. Georgia Tech should be very pleased. They're picked 4th in the ACC this year. It's a sign of how that program really has been improving. And then Duke comes in 6th, a little behind Duke to get to Florida State. And then it's a big jump back to get to North Carolina at number 8. Pittsburgh then at number 9, and NC State rounds out the top 10. Virginia Tech, by the way, comes in at 11th, even though for some reason someone gave Virginia Tech a first place vote.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild to me.
I don't know. I don't know if like Frank Beamer is getting a vote for old time's sake or something like that. But I mean, on the other hand, you know, preseason polls for years, Steve Spurrier used to give Duke a top 25 vote. He made us 25 in his top 25 in the preseason coaches poll every year, even though the team sometimes wasn't even going to win but 1 or 2 games, if even that. So I guess we shouldn't complain, but I just thought it was amusing that Everyone else figures Virginia Tech is a bottom of the conference team, and some guy picked them first.
Yeah, this is where you kind of say take some of these things with a grain of salt. You have some homer picks in here, but that's fine. But I will say, Jason, I think we discussed this very briefly on the show. But a few weeks ago, there was media day, and the guys who were really getting a lot of attention were not just Manny Diaz, the coach, but also Darian Mensah, the quarterback. And a lot of people are very, very high on Darian Mensah as a quarterback in the ACC, as one of the top quarterbacks in this conference. So that is probably a lot of what is vaulting up this team. Also, Jason, the preseason poll or preseason team came out, and I believe Duke got 2 players on defense, Chandler Rivers being one of them. And Chandler Rivers is an all-ACC player, an all-American type of player. So and so if he's healthy, if the defense remains healthy and is able to continue to get stops, I think a lot of people are excited enough about the offense and what Mensah can do to elevate them and make the ball go downfield quickly. If they're able to score some points, they're going to be in the thick of things. And it's not an easy schedule. We play a lot of these big teams, but we avoid some of them. And I think at the end of the day, you just got to get to, as we saw last year, getting to the ACC championship game is a reasonable goal. I mean, people don't realize that, yes, we had one really bad game against Miami, but if we kick a field goal or kick an extra point against SMU, we actually are in contention to be in that ACC championship game, which means, we're in line for a playoff spot. So that's what you want. And I think what a lot of these teams are thinking about is, that playoff spot can come. All you got to do is get to that point where you give yourself a chance. And I think Duke is going to try to pull out all stops to give themselves a chance. Also, I will note, Jason, North Carolina is 2 spots below in this poll. So despite the fact, as I kind of said throughout this whole show, despite the fact that Bill Belichick is being heralded as this guru of college football that's coming in to save everybody, the ACC pollsters do not agree. They think that UNC is going to be right in the middle of things, just like they always are.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the amount of money that Carolina has spent on Bill Belichick's contract, on his staff, on NIL and stuff like that, for the new he picked 8th in the preseason. Like, if Bill Belichick's name wasn't next to the coaching slot for UNC, they wouldn't be a top 10. They wouldn't be picked in the top half of the conference for sure. Look, the other thing I wanted to mention about football really quickly, by the way, Terry Moore is the other guy from Duke who is preseason All-ACC. Terry Moore at safety, Chandler Rivers at cornerback. I mean, the Duke defensive backfield has a couple rocks in it right there. The reason I'm excited about this Duke football team, the reason I think people have them picked as highly as they do, the reason I think they could really surprise some people and do really well is there are 6 positions on the offensive line. There's tight end, left guard, left tackle, center, right guard, right tackle, right guard. Those are all the positions on the offensive line. Duke returns 5 starters in those 6 positions, other than our left guard. We got our right tackle back, we got our right guard back, we got our center back, we got our tight end, and we got our left tackle back. I mean, that is.
And if I remember correctly, the one guy we're missing is the guy who transferred from Elon. It was a graduate transfer, so
correct,
he graduated.
Yeah, exactly. It is a really, really good offensive line that Duke is going to bring into the season. And I think, last year, Duke had a quarterback who could, Malik Murphy, who could throw the ball a long way downfield. But we didn't have a line, at least the line wasn't sort of together and cohesive enough to give him time for those wide receivers to get downfield. I think that will be a different case this year for Darian Mensah. Duke's going to have more time because that line is going to be able to protect him better. The biggest thing is, to get the run game going, because Duke really struggled in the run game last year. And that's the key to having any good offense, is having the threat of a run game, especially if you got a quarterback like Darian Mensah who's willing to tuck it and run with it a little bit. If you get an offensive line who can give him some time, let him survey things, and then let him decide, oh, wait, actually running with the ball is a good idea for me. It could be I think Duke's defense was the thing that the unit that led things last year. I think it may be the offense that leads things this year for Duke.
Yeah, and I think the last thing for me is when you look at this like you said, that list of teams in order: Clemson, Miami, SMU, Georgia Tech, Louisville. Those are the 5 teams that are ahead of Duke in this poll. We only played 2 of them. We played Clemson, we played Georgia Tech. And last time we played Clemson, if it was the new ACC, we would have to pay a fine because we rushed the field because we belt stomped them on national television on Labor Day. But that's important, Jason, because despite the fact that Clemson is number one, thinking to be number one in the conference, one of the best teams in the country, this team won't be scared of them. And I think that was something that was learned from that year where we played Clemson and beat them, where we came within a whisker of beating Notre Dame. Like, those are the teams that we strive to beat because that vaults us into the national conversation. And I think these guys understand that and they'll be ready for it. And I think that's what makes me excited about this team, is that they are going to be ready for those lights. We're going to have Illinois, which is a top 15 team, coming to Wally Wade. We're going to have some good games. And I think if these guys take care of business, towards the end of this season, they will have a chance to be in that conversation nationally, not just for the ACC championship, but for a playoff. It seems impossible. It seems like I'm bloviating here and really, really going to the end of the earth to try and vault this team up. But that's the situation we're in, is if we can play the schedule the way we have it, we are going to have a chance. And a chance is all we need. That keeps us in that conversation. So I'm really looking forward to the start of the season. As you mentioned, we start with Elon on August 28th, I want to say. It's like a Thursday night game. We'll be ready to go. And I think closer to that date, we can maybe do a full, preview of this 2025 Duke football team.
Hey, I got one last note for you on Duke football. So Yahoo Sports pointed this out, but I'm going to go ahead and echo what they had to say. Look, everyone thinks that Duke football is this doormat. Everyone thinks that the team just, if they're good for 1 year. Donald, over the past 3 years, Duke's won 26 games.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 2 teams in the ACC. Clemson and Louisville are the only ACC teams to have won more than 26 games over the past 3 years. This Duke team is not a doormat any longer. This Duke team expects to win 8, 9, 10 plus games every year. They have the roster to be able to do it. They have the coaching staff to be able to do it. And they now have a history of success to be able to accomplish those things. Get the old notion of Duke as a team that can be pounded upon by everybody else. Get that out of your head, because it's just not the case any longer. And I'm super excited for what Manny Diaz, Darian Mensah, and all these returning starters are going to bring to Wally Wade this year.
I will be at homecoming, so I'm looking forward. That's the NC State game. That'll be a good one. So
that'll be fun, man.
Looking forward to it.
All right. With that, we're going to wrap it up here in the latest edition of DBR Bites. Look, you know the email address, dbrpodcast@gmail.com. If I don't get like 20 emails on Tuesday night after that open practice, I'm going to be very disappointed in all of you. If you are anywhere within driving distance of Cameron Indoor Stadium on Tuesday evening, you got to get your butt over there. And then you got to tell us what you saw, because we are starved for info. We've been getting nothing but little snippets from the social media team, highly edited little snippets. Bring it, people. We need it. He's Donald. I'm Jason. This is the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home to Cameron for an open practice.